Yo, Vumani wo guys. Yeah, Vumani. So today we're talking about Amadlozi, ancestors and stuff like that, right? Which for me is a very interesting it's a very interesting topic to engage in, to think about, right? Because you find, especially Africans, right? There's Amadlozi. We acknowledge ancestors, and I'm not just talking by ancestors. I'm not talking about just people who died, like people we came from. No, I'm not talking just about that. I'm talking about the whole concept of ancestral worship and what it means and what I think about that, right? Because I have a lot of thoughts on a lot of things, and learn to think critically. Don't think within the system of academia, right? Academia is good, but you need to think beyond that. You need to think within it and outside academia, right? Arranged thoughts. Academia gives you it teaches you how to arrange your thoughts, right? But now you need to free yourself from that. You need to be able to pick and connect thoughts and ideas however way you see fit to your own understanding, right? To your own understanding, and then you submit that under truth, right? So this is basically what I'm doing. I'm not converting. This is not a church. I'm sharing my ideas, my opinions on things that affect society, right? So ancestral worship, right? Let's talk. We know that Africans, we slaughter cows, we slaughter chickens, we slaughter whatnot to appease our ancestors, right? We appease them through whatever that we do. Like we slaughter, we sing praises, malopo, the dances, like all those things, right? And it seems to me that every time those things are done, the aim is to get to a certain place spiritually where you are able to manifest whatever you want, or get direction for your life, or get direction for someone's life, or whatever the case may be, right? But there's an end goal to all those practices, right? And the reason why, for me, my standpoint on Amadlozi and stuff like that is I come from somewhere. Understand me? I come from I have a lineage, right? My blood, the blood that's flowing in my veins, it did not start by me. I come from somewhere, right? And those people that I come from, my ancestors, right? My cells also carry their memories. That's why at a certain point in my life, even though I had spent maybe I grew up without my dad, right? But at a certain point in my life, I was confronted with opportunities to make the exact same decisions as him, right? And he's alive, by the way. I was confronted with situations to make the exact same decisions as him, because cells carry memories. You don't have to spiritualize that and talk about, hey, the devil, this. Nah, your cells carry memories. So when we talk of breaking generational curses, we're talking of being aware of what is happening in you and why all that is happening, linked to your past, to your ancestors, right? Now, with our cells carrying memories, the good also comes with that, because your ancestors, the people who came before you, they are not just they weren't bad people, right? They had good, they were imperfect, they had things to offer the world, and they had their own bad whatever, right? So also the good also is carried within ourselves. So you also manifest that, and that is if you wanna really build everlasting wealth, you need to build within family, the family rectangle, if I may put it that way, within the family boundaries. And I'm not boxing you in, but what I'm saying is, if you want it to pass from one generation to another, just by virtue of yourselves carrying memories, you know that someone in your family will come and continue from there, which will be super easy because it's within their blood. It's not something they are working super hard to have. No, it's within their blood. So when you build something, when the next generation comes, it's easier for them to take it to the next level. The generation after them will also find it easier to take it to the next level because our cells carry memories, right? So now, with that being said, the practices of ancestral worship, I do not subscribe to that. I do not subscribe to like the practices of, you know, malopo. I don't know what malopo is in spiritual dances though, like African spiritual dances, to invoke ancestral spirits, right? I do not subscribe and I do not believe in that, because for me it's a lot of drama just to try to appease people who I don't see physically, right? And one thing that I want you guys to understand is this: never ever underestimate evidence. Evidence, a lot of people think that when we speak of evidence, we are speaking of if I say there's a bottle of water, right? This is physical evidence, but evidence is beyond this, right? You can reverse engineer evidence in the sense of going back in the past through traces, right? Then you collect pieces of evidence here and there, and it does sometimes it doesn't necessarily have to be physical. Sometimes it can even start in your mind, just to give you a trail to follow. And then as you continue following that trail, you uncover a lot of things. Right? So now what I'm saying with this is, I have never seen evidence that suggests that I am going through what I'm going through as a result of being punished by my dead uncle or father or whoever is there in my family, right, who passed on, right? There is no evidence that, and listen. The moment you begin to discard evidence, you are throwing away common sense and you're throwing away logic. Now, your ancestors are angry at you and they are beating you up, they are causing you to be fired at work and stuff like that. But listen, what I find in all of that is, there are certain things that need to express themselves through us, and we, just like academia, we have now made an academy of ancestors, if I may put it that way, where when you begin to show certain signs, we immediately say that is it. No, a million times no, I refuse, right? You cannot want to tell me that the person that I had like nice relations with on planet Earth, and you know, so like we're good, suddenly they're angry because they want me to slaughter cow blood. And this is where now Christianity becomes very, 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 very let me not say Christianity, rather the doctrine of Jesus Christ, the doctrine of Jesus Christ as God who took the form of flesh becomes very, very, very important. Napoleon Hill says the reason why Christianity will always be the greatest religion is because it is the only religion that is founded upon faith. When Jesus came, he founded his teachings on faith. Everything was built on faith, right? So no. That's why Napoleon says Christianity will always be the best, or it will always be the most powerful religion. And I say religion, right? Now, understand that when we speak of Jesus, and listen, when you read the Bible, right? I read the Bible in two ways. Now, rather, I read it in a philosophical way. I have to look at it in a historical format in order for me to get both its physical significance and its spiritual significance. So you need to approach it as a normal book, criticize it as a normal book. The idea that you're going to take it and say, guys, this is a spiritual book, I'm going to discard every criticism, every whatever, and not question it, you are very gullible, right? Now you need to look at the Bible as, number one, a historical book, number two, as a spiritual book, and you're going to get a lot out of it. You're going to get a lot out of it, right? So now, for me, it appears I found Christianity very, I don't want to say convenient, but for lack of a better word, convenient. I found it very convenient because it gave me answers and questions to life that are not just superficial. It challenged, it allowed me to challenge it, and it also challenged me, and it has become some sort of an ongoing conversation between me and this book, and really what its intention is and what its intentions was back then, right? And what it will mean in the future. So now when you look at ancestors, right, there's just a lot of drama there, which I do. Naturally, I do not like drama. I hate drama, right? So if you're going to be talking to me, if you're going to be telling me that and also I'm a huge fan of common sense. You cannot tell me that if I burn something or do whatever, then I'm connecting with the spirits and stuff like that and stuff like that. And of course, you can say to me that what happens when someone who died 4, 5, 10, 20, 100 years ago manifests through someone who is in the present currently? Your cells carry memories. In as much as it might come out in that weird way and we're gonna automatically say this. Your cells carry memories. There is nothing that you're going to if you're going to look at this as dots, like let's say look at my hand, right? I'm looking for, okay, let me do this. And now, if this is a very accurate depiction of life, right? Now you have this. You have. Let me just quickly draw my dots. Just draw dots everywhere, right? Here, right here. Just put dots, circles all over the page, right? So now this is how you need to approach life, and you need to be attentive and diligent. I like one of the scriptures in the book of Job where God says, twice or once God speaks. I'm paraphrasing. God speaks to men in dreams and in visions, but men perceiveth it not. Men cannot perceive that this is God talking. Maybe because you're expecting him to talk in a certain way that you've been indoctrinated that this is how he speaks and whatnot. And those who want to gatekeep God's voice will tell you that he speaks in a certain way. But we're not there. Now, this is how I approach life. And this is how I think, this is how I approach life, right? I join everything. I'm at point A. From point A, I don't necessarily need to go to point B. My life, from the time I was born till now, I might be born at point A, but maybe because of the people who make decisions for me, I find myself at point E, maybe. At point E, right? So this is A, and this is E. You guys, we're going to get proper equipment. Don't worry, we're going to be able to show this properly. Right? Point A and point E, right? And suddenly I'm grown, right? And between me growing up, you might find that from E, I moved to B, right? I moved to B. And now all these things are happening, and most of them are unconscious, right? So you find that now I'm at B, then I'm grown, now I'm making my own decisions. Then now I'm going to now start thinking of everything that my memory can give me. then I connect dots. And connecting doesn't mean you have to move from A to B to C. There comes a time where you need to now consider sequence because you have gained understanding. You can consider sequence, you can also bypass sequence depending on what you're dealing with. We're not there today, right? So now you join your life. Don't try to order your life until you have understanding. You need to sit down and pay attention. Be attentive. Be a student of life, right? So if you're going to be a student, you're going to find that as you're connecting all these dots, by these dots, I'm talking about checkpoints, I'm talking about major points in your life, I'm talking about good moments in your life, I'm talking about bad moments in your life, I'm talking about eye-opening moments in your life, I'm talking about all those important things that you don't really pay attention to. You begin to pay attention to those things. Listen, you begin to think back to your childhood. What was I like as a child? What happened to me as a child? What did I do as a child? You begin to decipher your life. That you open it up and try to, it's like surgery. You perform surgery on your own life mentally, right? You begin to connect dots. You take papers, you take a pen, you begin to try to pen down your life, to try to see, to get a bird's eye view of your life. Of course, you won't get everything right at the same time, or you won't get everything right there and there at the same time. It comes in stages with your understanding, but as you continue doing that, you begin to see your eyes open, right? And you begin to see a lot of things. You begin to even understand the matrix of, food. Food is very, very interesting. Food is very, very interesting, right? Let me not drift away. But let me just say so this part on food. Food is very interesting because have you ever asked yourself why when you are sad, you eat food and you're like, suddenly you feel good, right? And as someone who was dealing with addiction, some of the things that I was using to deal with, to bypass my body as to not submit to it would be food, because I understand that I am addicted. My body's addicted to a certain spike of dopamine, right? So in order for me to not give in to that, I would maybe eat something sugary or greasy. So it will release the right amount of dopamine that will temporarily suspend my craving for what I'm addicted to, the food matrix. I just wanted to drop that by you guys, and then you just think about it. But now let's get back to ancestors, right? If you suspend your logic, your common sense and stuff like that, you're going to find yourself doing things that you do not understand in the name of being African, in the name of being black. And I am not saying those things do not exist, but I'm saying if you're going to do whatever that you're doing, you need to be able to account for why you are doing it. You are not going to lose your life and lose your entire mind based on the fact that someone told you that your ancestors are after you. A lot of times it's because you also give into that, right? And mental resistance is very, very important. Mental resistance is, you can resist. And people a lot of times when they want to resist spiritual things, they want to resist physically, and at the end they're like, I gave up because nothing was happening. But you need to resist mentally and spiritually, right? And now that is where my anchor comes from as a Jesus follower, right? Because you need to understand that did Jesus Christ exist physically? I do not know. Was I there? No, I was not there. And if I say yes, I'm talking from a point of belief, not from a point of evidence, because evidence-wise, I was not there. So you are not also, you don't, and you cannot tell me that, you cannot give me a definitive answer to say yes, he existed, because you were not there. So that if you want to insist that yes, I'm sure he was there, then you are delusional, because you are now detaching from reality, right? Was he there? I do not know. What I do know is that the entire doctrine of Jesus and what he brings, whether or not he existed, that doctrine is perfect. Because you see a man who teaches things that I don't know, like begin to teach about the Bible, but you see a man who's, even people who follow him, Now, this is very, very important. People who followed and who are looking at this based on the text that we have, right? They say he was perfect in word and in deed, right? That's the description of that's the description of how some of his followers that's the description of how some of his followers gave, right? That he was perfect in word and in deed. And you look at how even when the men of the law were sent to trick this person, to trick him into saying something so that they can use against him, they all failed, to a point where even the police were sent to go and arrest him. Now they found him preaching and they sat down to listen. They waited for him to finish preaching before they could implement their boss's instructions. But after the sermon, they went back to their bosses that we couldn't arrest that guy because we have never had any man talk like that. We have never. So now listen to this. This man is giving teachings that people have never had. And even now, the people who are supposed to be his enemies, they are saying, no, we cannot execute this mission. Right? And look at this from a physical perspective. Don't look at this from a spiritual perspective. Please, bear with me there. Look at this from a physical perspective. Right? And now, Jesus says, John 1 says, in the beginning was the Word was with God, and the Word was God. Now listen. I'm still on ancestors. I want to show you why, for me, I have decided to be a Jesus man, if I may put it that way, right? Essentially, what is Jesus? Who is Jesus? This is consciousness taking up flesh. When God says, and by God, I do not mean the religious God. Okay, let me refrain from using God. The force of life, the force that causes things to be, says I want to visit planet Earth for a mission. But in order for me to go there, I need a human body, right? Because if I take an animal body, no one's going to listen to me. So I need a human body. Of course, there are people who listen and even worship the animal, but the way it is, inferiority, according to divine order, superiority cannot bow down to inferiority. So now human beings cannot bow down or shouldn't bow down to animals according to divine order, right? Because human beings are superior. So now God, let me refrain from the word God, right? This force that causes things to be decides to take up flesh. And the reason why even the virgin birth makes sense to me is because Leviticus says life is in the blood. Life is in the blood. So in order because now this life force has to take up flesh, right? It has to take up flesh. And now in order for it to maintain its perfect state as a life force that causes things to be, it needs to be in a body that is not tainted by blood, by dirty blood, if I may put it that way, right? Because the man with his sperm is the one who's gonna give life, right? So the blood that flows here, this is as a result of my father's sperm, right? So now, in order for divinity to take charge of this flesh, right, it needs to bring about life without the aid of the male sperm. So that is why now Mary became pregnant miraculously. Because now if Jesus was born through a man, then already he is just a prophet and cannot be anything more. He's just a spiritual man who teaches people like Muhammad and the others. He cannot be something more, right? And now, that's why now Mary has to be pregnant without the aid of a man. So this, and now that's when, if you begin to understand these things, you'll see why nothing is really impossible, right? And now this force that causes things to be decides to trigger Mary's pregnancy, and Mary finds herself pregnant, and she gives birth to a child, and that child goes on to live his life and whatever, right? So now that for him to be perfect, the blood had to be tampered with. We cannot have a man's sperm giving life to the savior. Nah, then he can no longer become a savior, right? He can no longer become a savior. Now, that is why, to me, when I receive and when I think, by the way, I've never heard what I've just said now in any church or anywhere. No way. This is something that I get from when I sit on my own and begin to think critically as to what is happening on planet Earth. Right? So, for me, that makes a whole lot of sense as compared to ancestors. The drama, the chickens, the whatnot. It doesn't make sense to me, right? And I would love nothing more than to have someone who has a contradictory thought to actually comment, get to maybe, but we need to get together somewhere, somehow, so that we can debate. I love debating. I love such conversations. I love, this is my happy place. When I'm talking about such things, this is my happy place. So yeah, get in touch. We need these conversations. We cannot continue being mentally lazy. We cannot continually be thinking in a narrow way. We need to listen. You need to let go of your thoughts and see what you get. You need to think of everything and everyone all at the same time. There's just a lot to say, guys. There's just a lot to say.